Everyone, today I'm going to be talking about Roswell, New Mexico pilot. Now, when I first heard about this show, it's ever since the original end, fans have been wanting some kind of way to bring back the show. It wasn't going to get a season 4, wasn't going to get a movie. All the characters and cast members have moved on to other projects. So everybody has been looking for ways to kind of bring the show back. So what ended up happening was, I believe the same creator that made the Vampire Diaries made an updated version of the show. So it was announced that Roswell was getting a reboot. And at first, when I heard this, I was excited because much like everybody's response, I was just glad that they were going to bring back the show in some form, even if it didn't mean bringing back the original characters of the original show. I like the fact that they were resurrecting the premise of the show in some form, so I was on board with it. So what I ended up doing was, even before I started making this reaction channel, I kind of binged through the first season, which I should have held off on it and got a reaction to it, but I just wanted to hurry through and binge through the first season. So I didn't do a reaction. I can't do a reaction to it because I've already seen the first season, but I will be reacting to season 2 when it comes out, and it will be on my channel. But season 1, I will be going over kind of the breakdown of each of the episodes as a review. So the pilot is basically kind of like if you watched the original to Roswell, it's pretty similar in a ways. I don't want to make it as a comparison between the two. But the only noticeable difference about this version is the characters are older. They're not in high school anymore, but they're still in Roswell. They touch on a lot of things like immigration and things like that. And this show is actually filmed, I believe, in Roswell. The original was filmed in California, I believe. So you get that feel, kind of like, I think, Breaking Bad. I think they were filmed kind of in the same place. But you can get the feel of New Mexico because the show is filmed in New Mexico, I believe. So anyway, the show starts off, and Liz and Max, they meet after being apart from each other for some years.
Liz.
Max. It's been a long time.
10 years.
They meet up, and we see that Liz is in the Crashdown Cafe as a waitress. And what ends up happening is, just like in the original, she gets shot, but it's kind of in a different way.
Down, down.
Instead, there's a guy that from outside that's shooting out, and Liz ends up getting shot. So it's a little less coverage on this one because there's not as many people around when the shooting happens. So it's just Max and Liz, I believe, and he heals her just like in the pilot of the original. So Liz gets shot because of some guy outside shooting, and she gets shot, and Max heals her. But this, in the original, I don't want to kind of compare everything to the original, but just the pilot, because the show does go on a very different angle after the pilot. You would think when you watch the pilot to Roswell, New Mexico, you think it's going to play out exactly like the original did, but the pilot is only what kind of like sets up the story. Um, so yeah, the pilots are very very similar. If you watch the original, if you watch the reboot and the original, they're pretty much identical, except the situations may be a little bit different. You have all the same characters. Both shows have an Alex. Both shows have a Michael. Both shows have an Isabel. There is no Sheriff Valenti. The original had a Sheriff Valenti, but he is talked about later on in the reboot that he died. I believe his character actually died in the reboot version. But they're just small little tweaks along the way. The characters in the reboot are older. I think it's 10 years older, I believe. I'm not sure. But in the reboot, you have your core aliens just like in the original. You have Max, Isabel, and Michael. And most like the original, Michael is the more shady one of the group. The ones where powers aren't as fully formed as well. The original of Roswell, they had a kind of they had Tabasco sauce, and they put that on a lot of their foods. Whenever it's discussed later that whenever, especially in the pilot, he's drinking nail polish, I believe, and that is kind of their quirk, like the Tabasco sauce was for the original. So what happens in the reboot is kind of like the same thing that happened in the original Roswell. Liz eventually confronts Max, and other than just telling Liz the truth, which is what happened in the original, Max ends up actually showing her where he was born.
Our parents adopted Isabel and me, but Michael was harder to place. He ended up in foster care.
How they came out, he actually shows her the location, which I believe is actually a lot better because you could actually see that he's not making it up, and it's not just some. Both of them are pretty similar to each other. The ending's a bit different. The original had them trying to steer Sheriff Valenti away from thinking that they're aliens. The ending to Roswell, New Mexico kind of showed you the core group. It kind of introduced a different storyline. There's a character named Rosa, which is Liz's sister, which wasn't introduced in the original, but is introduced in the reboot. And it's kind of addressed that there's something going on with Liz's sister Rosa. At the end of it, it's revealed that there's more to the story with this Rosa character. And we don't know about that till we go further into the story. But it appears that the aliens know something about Liz's sister Rosa that they're not telling anybody. So that's kind of how it goes. Same story told with some different angles. Liz finds out. The only difference is in this version, Maria doesn't find out, at least not yet. And there's noticeable difference between some characters in the original. The original had, Max, not Max. The original had Michael and Maria as a couple, and from watching just the pilot, you can know that fans of the show might be a little upset because there's, as far as it goes, there isn't a ship for Michael and Maria. But there is a ship for Michael and Alex, which is a new twist that the original didn't take. So other than that, that's kind of the differences between the two. I don't have Roswell always has a personal place because it's one of my all-time favorites, and I was there, when it came on air and all that, and the show grew on me. So the original has more of a place for me, but the reboot I will be covering as well. I will be breaking down each episode and telling you my thoughts. I may some of these episodes I may have to rewatch again just to give you guys more of a recap, a refresher for me. But other than that, that's the pilot. That's the reboot of Roswell, New Mexico. So if you guys like this review, make sure you leave a comment below and stay tuned for more reactions and reviews.